Welcome back to Self-Built. Today I'm going to be addressing a question I've gotten pretty often, and that is, what kind of squat rack do I use? I'm going to give you a full review on how long I've used it, modifications I've done, some maintenance that I do every once in a while, and overall how the experience has been. This is the Weider Pro 355 series. I don't think they make them anymore. I tried to find it online and I could only find it used on like Facebook Marketplace, KSL. That's exactly where I got it, was KSL. So buying it secondhand might be the only option, but there are similar setups just like this one. I've had this for about 8 years, which surprises me because I don't really sit back and think how long I've had things. But this has really been the centerpiece and the building foundation of my gym, and for lots of home gyms in general. Usually it's a squat rack. Having the Smith machine option has been super nice because it makes sure that I'm not going to be hitting the wall with a barbell or anything. This is a pretty small room, and if I had like the 8-foot Olympic barbells, I think I'd have like 4 inches or something on each side. Not a lot of wiggle room, and then also would make it really tough to throw weights on the side. It's already a little cramped as is, so that's been super nice. It does come with some little stoppers that you can adjust for any sort of spotting that you like. Makes it really safe and quick, easy adjustments on the go. This did come with a lat pull down attachment and also a lower row attachment. I bought this used. I don't even know how old this thing is, but I mean, it's got rust all over it, which that's okay, gives it some character. I bought it for, I think it was like 150 bucks. It was in a guy's basement, and it was needing a little bit of love. The cables were all worn out and cracked, and I ended up just getting rid of all of it. One thing to know is this is a friction-based Smith machine. It doesn't have any counterweights or anything like that. It just has these small little bushings on each side. It definitely does have some drag. It's not perfect. As you can see, there's a little bit of grease on here as residue. What I do with these poles is I'll put a little bit of lithium grease on it, and it makes a huge difference on how smooth these things move. When I first got it, it had so much drag. I tried a lot of different things. I tried WD-40, I tried just normal oil, and lithium grease has been the best. If you do have a friction-based Smith machine, I would say very light on the grease. In the case of lubricating the poles, less is more. I was gunking this thing up a ton. These bars used to be white with how much I would cake, and it would slide really smooth for a while, but it would kind of dry up and it would kind of add a little bit of resistance. And it wasn't until a little recently I was like, I'm just going to kind of like rub it off, polish it a little bit, and it's been super nice. I don't have any complaints because there'd be some times I would do it, or my friends coming over to work out, we would accidentally touch the pole and we would get slimed, and it's like, oh crap. So you don't have to worry about that as much. It's still quite slick, but it doesn't come off on my fingers. That's been a recent discovery that I've come up with. It did have a row attachment here, which I just took off because I'm able to make something better. I'll go into that a little bit. But if you did use this system, it would have, you'd load weight here and then it would glide up on this, which had a ton of drag. Wasn't really that great. I've kind of had ideas to maybe try to revamp it and see if it's worth it. I've played around with it, haven't gotten around to it just yet. So that might be a future video, but essentially I just use this for an anchor and a weight holder at this point, because there'll be times when I'm using my cables and I'm really pulling on it. Sometimes the rack would kind of move a little bit and I'm like, ooh, that's not very awesome. So this has made it feel a lot safer. Besides the wall sparing technology of having a Smith machine, it's also really nice when you're training solo. You're able to set those lower spotting arms to where if you do run out of energy and you're exhausted, you're not going to get pinned. You can make it much safer so you can push towards failure and not have to dump weight or possibly get injured. The Smith machine definitely has its limitations. When you start to get into the about 185s to 225 and up, these poles really start to flex and add a lot of extra friction on the way up. So you really have to be aware of how you're pushing and lifting the weight, because it can be pretty unforgiving. And when I've got it like in the middle, you can see that it's got a little bit of flexion, and that's just with me pulling on it. But just to give you a little bit of a demo, that's probably the biggest backdrop of this. When you go to a commercial gym, they've got nice little roller wheels and everything is just super solid. But of course, they're paying thousands of dollars for that piece of equipment too. The closest thing I could find, I'll leave a link on it, I found it on Amazon. It was like $450, but it had a $50 coupon, and it has pretty much everything. This came with bone stock. And I was like, that's not bad. For having your own Smith machine, that's pretty usable, and most people could use that. It's not a bad deal. Let's get to the self-built portion of this video. I have heavily modified this thing. This thing is not even close to what it used to be. It is so extremely functional and does so many things. The first thing I did was add cables to this, because cables is one of my favorite things, and you can just do so many exercises with it. I've got videos on doing it. All you do is just drill a hole and you're able to attach some pulleys. A really slick addition to having top pulleys, if you can put a screw in the back, you can have it so it'll hold the lower pulley cable, so you don't have to, so it's off the ground, out of the way, and then you can just quickly attach it. Takes just a second and you're good to go. I took this even one step further and made it to where you can attach the bottom to the middle right here, so you can really have 3 different positions of cables, which is super nice. It does have its small limitations, but overall, you're able to get just about everything you're needing. I might have gone a little hog wild with landmines, so I've attached some here, attached some on each side down here, and then I've also attached some at the top. Each of these landmines serve a different purpose of a different piece of equipment that I've built for different special exercises that it can do. I've got a video that I built some lever gym arms where you can attach these. The bottom ones are great for landmine rows, a lot of other things. And the middle ones you can really use for lat pull downs, for bench press. There's a ton of different stuff. If you want to check it out, I got a lot of videos on all that. When you're starting a home gym, and if you start with something like this, it's awesome, but you might be limited by the size of plates that you have. This only accepts 2-inch plates, and one way that I was able to remedy that, this is an older video of how I built these, but these are adapters that'll attach on just like this, and then you can slide 1-inch plates on here. If you're gonna go crazy with it, I would make it out of steel, but I would add 30 pounds on each side, so that way I could have like a 25 or a 35, and then you could add increments. It really did the job, and it's been awesome. Since then, I've got some 10s that are 2 inches, and that's been awesome too. But if you don't have that accessible to you, these are awesome. Another one of my favorite inventions was to be able to make this Smith machine rack turn into a half rack, because it's fun to have a Smith machine, but sometimes you want to be able to have some free weight barbell action. And I came up with some little half rack attachments here. I've been using these for years. They've been so much fun. This is one of my first inventions on this too. But if you get the chain link just right, I'll attach this to the spotter arms, and then it'll hold just like that. And then you put one on each side. It's not perfect. If you like came at a bad angle and you weren't paying attention, you could hit it and be in trouble. So you definitely have to be aware. I've thought of a couple things I could do to make it a little more attached. That would make it simple. So that might be coming in the future. But I love to show you these inventions to show you what you can do with your equipment. Really, the sky's the limit. You can come up with anything as long as you have the imagination and you got the will to figure out some way to make it happen. I also made a video of making a lever gym arm where I made some modification hole here and here. So you can attach at different points, and it makes it a different feel and arc of the training movement. And that seems to be the last of the modifications I've made so far on this thing. The maintenance that I'll do is occasionally every couple months I'll clean these off, and then I'll just very lightly give them some lube again. And then, man, I think it's been like a year and a half, 2 years since I've replaced the cable on these. I'm thinking about it because they're starting to show a tiny bit of wear. It's more aesthetic, but with how cheap it is, if you get this at like one of those big box stores, it costs nothing to do. It's maybe $25 or something. To me, it's worth it because I enjoy having things that run smoothly and look good at the same time. My lower cables got a little chewed up because it had a bad habit of getting out of the track, and the pulley would kind of chew on the coating a little bit, so I'm not a big fan, so that's probably the main reason I'm wanting to switch it out. Oh, I almost forgot, and then I don't use this very often at all, that's why I forgot. I've got some chain wrapped around here that's on one of the bolts, and they're basically just long chains that hold down, and they were originally some spotter arms to where I could have like a bar, and it just would limit how low it would go. So if I'm doing like barbells, for example, I could put it on each end, and it just made it to where it couldn't go lower than it should. I've only used it a few times, but I've kept it up there because Why not? It's good at holding carabiners, which I use these all the time. You can never have too much chain or too much carabiners in a home gym. That's what really makes it adaptable to so many different things. And that's a good walkthrough of the general stock features of this and then the easy modifications you can do. If you really want to trick out your Smith machine, you can add these principles to squat racks, a lot of different things. So look at your system and see if any of these are compatible. If not, I'm sure there's some workarounds. Overall, my experience with this Smith machine, it's been great. I've used it so much, just about every single workout. I've got something used to it. I mean, of course, these cables, I use every single workout. Sometimes I'll do workouts that are just Smith machine based. There's just so much variety that you can add to this that it just makes it so much fun, especially when you're in a tight place like this. You can just get a huge variety of workouts at your disposal. If you're curious on those funny little quirky contraptions I've come up with, I'll leave a link on the build videos in the description on that too if you're interested. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any added suggestions on things to make it better or things that for your system you're kind of trying to figure out how it works, let me know. I'd be happy to help. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe if you could. Don't forget to watch one of these videos over here. And don't forget to punch another ticket on that game train. And we'll see you next time on Mosaic Build.